Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening and watching the Italian American Entertainment Podcast. And I'm your host, Vince Chiarelli. And today we have the great singer and musician Lauren Mascitti with us. And Lauren competed in the past season of American Idol and quickly became a fan favorite with her great original songs, including God Made a Woman. And today we'll be talking to Lauren about being a proud Italian American, her music career, and her newest single, One Life Stand. So welcome, Lauren. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Vince. I really appreciate it. And anytime I get to brag about being Italian, I'm all for it.
Well, there you go.
So
Yeah, me too. So, how I usually start this show, since it's about being Italian American, is where you are located now, but where in Italy do you trace your Italian ancestry?
yeah, well, actually I was born and raised in a little town called Louisville, Ohio. It's like a suburb of Canton where the Pro Football Hall of Fame is, and that's where my family was from as well. But of course, because of the country music thing, I've been, a country music singer songwriter for a lot of years, and so maybe 6 or 7 years ago, we moved down here to Nashville. So Nashville, Tennessee, is where I'm currently at.
Nice.
But I have traced my family roots back to a little town called Corfinio in the region of Abruzzo. So it's kind of like central, a little bit southeast of Rome, I guess. So
Okay,
not
nice.
too far from Rome.
Nice. You ever been over there?
But yeah, I have not. It
No?
is the number one bucket list thing, but
Yeah. Yeah, I've
I have
only
not been over there yet. And of course,
yeah, I've only
well,
been once.
COVID isn't making anything.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
you have been. Where did you go?
Where all my family's from in Sicily. So I spent a month in Sicily and then just like a week in Rome and then flew back. But
Fun.
it's been 13 years, so I got to go back. But like you were saying,
Oh,
COVID's
wow. It's
yeah,
time.
yeah, COVID's put a damper on it. So we're definitely wanting to go back.
Aw.
But so let's start with when did you start performing? When did you really start becoming a singer?
Right. Well, I was raised by my grandparents. That's my cat.
Oh, that's okay.
Sorry. I was raised by my grandparents. My nana and my papa, they adopted me, and I grew up in my church is like my family, Trinity Gospel Temple in Canton, Ohio. And that's really what I cut my teeth on was gospel music, and that's really what I grew up doing is just strictly gospel music. And so I grew up singing in my church. There was a woman in our choir that gave me singing lessons, and her husband was a sound engineer, and we had a little studio, like a recording studio in our church. And so when I was 8 years old, they did a little CD on me and gospel music, and that's really what started everything. And so my nana started taking me from church to church, and I would sing, and it really just kind of snowballed from there. I've always had a love of music, and even before I started taking singing lessons when I was 7, I would write little jingles and poems and things like that. So
Oh, very cool. So
so I've always loved music.
cool. So, one question, I'm a singer and musician too, and I always like asking this to other singers. Do you still get nervous after all these years when you're on stage?
You know what? I think growing up and singing in church really kind of conditioned me to not be so nervous. It's more of like an excited anticipation.
Right.
I will say during American Idol, that was nerves. That was totally nervousness. But other than that, it's just nervous, like excited anticipation. But
That's cool. So,
yeah.
talking about American Idol, I could only imagine going on there with the nerves and everything about being on the show. But how was that experience? And me being a singer for so many years, of course, as soon as American Idol came out, everybody in the family was, "Oh, you got to do American Idol," and I'm sure you heard that
Uh-huh.
for years. So what was it that made you want to do it, and how was that whole experience?
Well, I actually had one of the producers of the show. He was kind of like a talent scout, I guess. He'd seen some of my videos, And he reached out to me in my email. This is my cat,
All
Waylon.
right.
His name is Waylon, after Waylon Jennings,
There you
because he's
go.
a rebel, as you can tell. But anyway, he reached out and kind of encouraged me to submit a video, and he set up an audition for me, and it ended up going really well, and obviously,
Sure.
and so that's kind of like the push I needed. I had been working, I've been working a lot of years on my craft, and getting in front of as many people as I can get in front of. And sometimes as an artist, you feel like you're kind of beating your head against the wall, and you're doing all of this, and sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. And I just kind of felt like, man, something's got to give at some point. And so when the guy reached out from American Idol, it was just like, okay, well, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. That was kind of like confirmation. And so, yeah, that's kind of how that worked out.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, no, it's that's a big deal, and I probably couldn't do it even after all these years.
Oh,
Be too much stress for me. But growing up Italian American, was Italian American music or Italian music at all played in the house, and did that have a big
oh
influence on
yeah.
you?
It absolutely did. Besides singing in churches and all of that stuff, I've been singing at Italian festivals my whole life,
Oh, okay.
and I was born and raised about an hour from Steubenville, Ohio, which is where Dean Martin was born and
Right.
raised.
Yeah.
And so I it's kind of a long story, but I moved out to Branson, Missouri. Maybe I was 12 years old, and Dean Martin's daughter Dina lived there at the time and was an entertainer, and so we got to meet her, and she's just like, well, we have this festival for my dad every year in Steubenville, Ohio, his birthday week. And so it got to be where I would perform there every single year for the Dean Martin Festival. And it was basically just like a big Italian festival, a big celebration of being Italian American. There were a lot of, Italians that would patronize the festival. And it was really cool because a lot of actors from New York and New Jersey, like Law and Order, Sopranos, a lot of entertainment series that included a lot of Italian Americans, those actors would come because they were such big fans of Dean Martin. And so I got to meet a lot of them in the process, and it was just such a blast. And through that festival, one of the guys who was an actor in The Sopranos and Law and Order, his name is Paul Borghese.
Oh yeah. I know Paul too.
Yeah, he has
Yeah.
he's incredible, and
Oh
he's
yeah.
he's like an uncle to me,
Oh,
and
cool.
I just love him to death. I call him Uncle Paulie, and he's got an entertainment business out of Tappan, New York,
Yeah.
and he was in charge of entertainment for the Blauvelt Sons of Italy Italian Feast in Rockland County. And so I've been performing at that every year too. Like, gosh, 11 or 12 years now. I've been going up there every September, and it's like the highlight of my year, And
That's
so
cool.
I've been really heavily influenced by artists like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, of course, Buddy Greco, and a lot. I mean, there's just so many to name, but Dean Martin is a huge one, and his daughter has just been so kind to us. And oh, another really cool fun fact: I'm a huge Connie Francis fan as well.
Sure.
And I found out that I have the same birthday as Frank Sinatra and Connie Francis, which
Oh
is
wow.
December 12th.
Oh,
So
very cool. There
kind
you
of
go.
interesting.
That's a special day. That's cool. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I love Connie Francis as well, and my band does a tribute that includes we have a girl up here in the Chicago area who plays Connie Francis, and I do Bobby Darin, and we do a Bobby Darin Connie
Oh,
Francis
cool.
tribute show, and that's always really fun because I love the Connie Francis stuff. So that's that's always a blast doing that show. But so why don't you
Yeah.
tell a little bit about your new single, "One Last Stand," or yeah, "Life Stand."
Yeah.
Sorry, not "One Last Stand."
One Life Stand.
There you
Yeah.
go.
It was kind of like a play on words. I wrote it obviously as a spinoff of the usual phrase "one night stand," which is kind of frowned upon, but I kind of wanted to take it in the opposite direction. Of course, I play guitar, and I I was falling in love with my fiance at the time that I was, well, my now fiance, that, whenever I was kind of messing around with these jazz chords, and I was kind of messing around with these jazz chords, and I thought of that line, and I was falling in love at the time, and it was just kind of a perfect storm. It kind of morphed into this kind of jazzy retro feeling, standardy type of song,
Yeah.
and it was different than anything I'd written before, because I'm a country artist, and I mean, this is country, but I had been previously writing just a ton of like traditional sounding with a lot of steel, a lot of fiddle, that kind of like old school country music, and that's what I love. But this kind of took me into a different direction, and I don't know, I'm really happy with it, and it kind of branched out into a lot of other songs that's kind of inspiring my new record that I'm currently writing for. So
Very cool. Yeah,
yeah.
I listened to it.
And
I was gonna say it's very
go ahead.
jazzy sounding. I like the you throw in it's very bossa nova sounding to me at least.
Yeah,
Placement. Yeah.
yeah.
So when I heard that, I was like, oh wow, this is it's cool that you're throwing the jazzy bossa with the country. That was a cool little feel in there. I like that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I really loved how it turned out, and the guys that played on the record are some of my best friends and favorite players here in Nashville. We had Mike Bubb on upright bass. Of course, my fiance Sean Camp, he's an incredible songwriter in his
Yeah.
own right. He's had #1 hits for like Garth Brooks and Brooks and Dunn, and there's me bragging on him, but
That's cool.
he played acoustic guitar and he produced the song, and we have Larry Adamanuk on drums, Guthrie Trapp on electric guitar, Pete Wasner on keys, and it just ended up just so cool, and I'm really happy with it. And so we did the single, and then for the music video, another good friend of mine that I met in Branson, Missouri, at the same time I met Dina Martin, kind of that era of my life. I got to be good friends with Pam Tillis, who is just a female country legend,
Yeah.
and so we've been friends for a lot of years, and she's been so kind to me and has taken me under her wing a lot of times, just to be kind of a positive adversary in my life as a young artist. And so I kind of heard through the grapevine that she was doing directing music videos now. She's a really creative person, and this is just another outlet she's using to channel her creativity. And so I'm just like, well, I'm looking for somebody to do my video, and so we kind of came together on that, and this is my second music video I've done, and she's kind of getting started in that vein, and it was really cool how it worked out, and I'm super excited. The video for One Life Stand is up on YouTube, and anyone can find it on my social media pages. It's just Lauren Mascitti, Instagram, Lauren Mascitti Music on Facebook, and all that fun stuff. So
No, that's very cool. So something I got to ask too, and my wife was very interested. Is my wife is a nurse, and you
yeah,
are,
yeah.
and you're a nurse as well. So how has it been having a very a great job, but a very stressful job, especially this past year with COVID and everything? How has that been with trying to keep a music career going and also trying to help on the front line for COVID?
Let me tell you, it's been a year. It got really, really bad for a few months there. I work at a hospital kind of outside of Nashville. It's a sister hospital to the larger hospitals that are in Nashville, and I don't know. At first, when COVID came in, it really it didn't hit us too bad. Things weren't real critical. But whenever that second wave hit, I mean, it was just horrible, and we've all really seen a lot this year.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord, we're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel right now. But anyway, it's been a really hard, stressful year to be a nurse, but at the same time, I'm sure your wife can say the same thing. It's been really a prideful year to be a nurse as well. Like, I don't know, I feel like there's so much camaraderie this year, and a lot of pride in what we do. And there always has been, but I think the crisis has really brought us together as a family of healthcare workers.
Yep.
And I just really don't know how else to say it. I'm really proud to be doing what I do, and I know it's been really not a good year for a lot of musicians in town, songwriters in town, people that depend on performing and live performances for an income, and it's their identity, and when you take away that identity from somebody, I can see where a lot of the depression and a lot of just the not knowing who you are kind of comes in, and when you lose that part of yourself. And I just have felt really, really thankful and grateful that I was able to have a job that I could, keep on making money and supporting myself. And I'm really grateful that I have something else to kind of define my life. And I'm
Yeah.
really proud to be a healthcare worker as well. So
No, that's great. And,
yeah.
you have a great career in healthcare, but what do you love most about your career so far as a musician and a singer?
Well, I think the songwriting aspect of it, getting to tell my story and kind of trying to tell other people's stories. I think the most gratifying moment is whenever I'm in front of an audience and I'm getting to share something I wrote about my own experiences or something that has moved me in some way, and seeing it relate to the people on their faces, or having somebody come up to me and saying, your song really touched me, your song really ministered to me. And I feel like that's probably the most gratifying thing about being an artist and a performer in what I do. I mean, you have the lights and the flashy stuff, but when it comes down to it, it's really all about the song and moving people and making people feel something. And
Yep.
so I feel like the song itself and being a songwriter is really my favorite part of what I do.
Yeah, same with me. I've played all over and played on stages, and that's a great feeling. But when I write original music too, but when you see someone like mouthing the words and singing along with it, I think that's kind of one of the best feelings too, because it's just like, wow, people
Right.
actually like it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it is the songwriting side of it that really does touch, I think, people like us. But one question I have. My family has a deep connection with Nashville and country music. Actually, my grandfather was a Italian musician, but actually was known as the Italian country boy back in the 50s and
Oh
60s.
wow.
Yeah, and he kind of made
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah, and so back then there wasn't a lot of Italians in the country music industry, and there's still not. It's great that you are. So, do you see a lot of Italian Americans down there in Nashville trying the country thing?
Not a whole lot. There's a couple of them I can tell by maybe their last name, like Jody Messina.
Oh yeah,
She's Italian. I thought I read somewhere, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this, but Tim McGraw might have
yeah,
some Italian in him.
yeah. He does. Yep.
And I just recently found out that, and this is not in the country world, but I didn't know that Alicia Keys was half Sicilian.
Yeah, she
So I
is.
thought that was pretty interesting too. But anyway, I don't know. I've had people tell me when I was younger, like before I moved to town, well, your hard name is or your last name is kind of hard to pronounce. It's kind of long. It's kind of, you might want to go by your middle name or something easier to pronounce. And I'm just like, but that's who I am, and I'm really proud of who I am. I'm proud of my heritage, and maybe country music needs a little bit of ethnicity.
That's right.
It's just like I don't know. I've never really felt a need to change my name or do any of that stuff. I'm really proud to be Italian, and anytime I get to brag about my heritage, I do. So,
Yeah, no, that's
but
great. Yeah, my
yeah,
grandfather,
yeah. So
they did the same thing to him. I'm named after him, so he had the same name. And when he was down there, he used to,
yeah, yeah.
coming from, Sicily, and he was poor, and he came here when he was like 27, and he was a musician out there, and he's like, well, I'm going to go to Nashville. So he would drive from where we're living in Rockford by Chicago and drive down to Nashville and record. I don't know if it's still there. And next time I come down, I was just down there in it's a city called Tullahoma. We have some cousins that live out there, and I've always wanted to drive. He used to record at a place called the Barn Recording Studios, and I don't know if you've heard of that. It's, I think, Bradley's Barn or something. It's like a museum now or something, but he used to record there.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah.
I do know about Brad.
Yeah, he used to record there, which like all the famous people used to. And here's this short Italian guy, and so he used to go by his name, but he used to record, traditional Italian stuff down there, like the Dean Martin type of stuff he was doing. And he hated country music. He just did not understand the twang and everything back then. And at one of the recording sessions, he was standing there with a guy, and my grandfather knew nothing about country music, but was like saying, it sounds like somebody's killing a cat in the other room, the way he was singing with the twang. And it turned out that the guy he was talking to was the guy that had just been recording, and it was Tex Ritter that my grandfather was like saying this to.
Oh
and,
my gosh!
And so Tex Ritter thought that was hilarious and said, well, that singing style has made me a lot of money, and like took my grandfather to his mansion, had dinner with him, and they became friends. And he convinced my grandfather to write country music and change his name to the Italian Country Boy, which he did. And after
that's so awesome.
But after all these years, all the music my grandfather wrote, the most money he ever made in royalties was country music, and one of his records that he wrote for somebody else is in the Hall of Fame down there. It's crazy how all that worked. But so it's interesting always to me how, like you said, there's so many people that, like even Tim McGraw, that you don't even know that there's that lineage back there. So it's always interesting to me if there's a lot of Italians down in Nashville still. But so that's cool that you're keeping the Italian American legacy alive down there. But I always ask this question.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, so I always ask this next question to all my guests, and since this is about entertainment and Italian American entertainment, what's your hope for Italian American entertainment in general? And do you have a good feeling that there's others, I do more Italian music, of course, but that there's other Italians like us that are going to keep at least the culture going?
Absolutely. The cool thing about the Italian American community, especially in the music industry, is I feel like we haven't really had a problem making a name for ourselves. I mean,
Right.
You have Sinatra, Martin, Connie Francis. There's a plethora of Italian Americans in the entertainment industry, and my friends Paul Borghese. You probably know Vinny Pastore as well.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of those guys up there, as far as the acting world goes, I mean, Italians are really prominent in the arts. And I feel like that's something that we brought with us that's kind of in our DNA from our culture, back in Italy. Italians are really known for like having, a lot to do with the arts. And actually tracing back my lineage, there was even, I have a Mascitti in my family who was a conductor for an orchestra over in Italy currently. And I mean, back in the 1700s, I think there was another Mascitti that wrote sonatas, and he even has like compositions that he's written in classical music from like the 1700s that is still available. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like Italians are kind of notorious for that. So I'm not worried. I think we'll continue to make our voice heard in the arts, and it's something to really be proud of. So I'm happy to be a little part of it. So.
That's right. I agree. And so before we go, what's next for you? Do you have? I know with COVID it's tough, and but do you have any upcoming shows? How do people find out more about you? Website, and how do they buy your music? All that stuff. All that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, ever since I was a little girl, my dream was to play at the Grand Ole Opry. And that is happening on May 7th. It's my first time performing at the Grand Ole Opry. So that's my next thing is May 7th, Grand Ole Opry. I can't even believe I'm talking about it. But so that's super cool. I have a website, laurenmascitti.com, LaurenMascitti.com. And I mean, I'm all over social media. I have a Facebook music page, Twitter, Instagram, just under Lauren Mascitti Music. So anybody can find my stuff. I have it on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, all that fun stuff. So,
Oh, cool.
And the new music video is on YouTube as well. One Life Stand.
Cool. Well, what I'll do is I'll tag, especially the new single you got out. I did watch that. It was a great video, very well produced, I could tell. So you guys did a great job with that.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah. So I'll tag your website, all your social links, and the new video. And once again, I really appreciate you coming on. Great to talk to you, and good luck with the Grand Ole Opry. That's amazing. So that's coming up. I'll tag that on this too. So if there's anybody down in Nashville, they can come see you. That'd be great.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, thank you once again. And thank you everybody for listening and watching, and tune in next time to the Italian American Entertainment Podcast. Thanks. Have a good one.